Things at West Ham aren't quite going great at the minute. A few years back they won the Conference League, but those victories seem a far cry away from where the club is now. They decided to move on from long-standing manager David Moyes last summer, bringing in Julien Lopetegui, hoping to take the club further than before, but it seems like so far things aren't quite working. The club is sitting in 14th place in the Premier League with some big losses along the way, and realistically, with the squad they've got, with the fan base they've got, and the history too, West Ham should be doing far better than they are right now. So that's where I'm coming in. And as manager of West Ham, I've got grand plans, because in 5 years at the club, I'm going to aim not just to get us back into Europe, but hopefully try and push for a Premier League title. And we've got some great players already at the club to help us towards that aim. Conference League finalist goal scorer Jared Bowen is one of our main men. Brazilian Lucas Paqueta is a man I'm hoping I can bet on to do some good for us this season. And on his day, Mohamed Kudus can be one of the most exciting players in the Prem. But those guys have been at West Ham for a couple of years now, and this summer they strengthened with some players that really should take them to another level. German international Nicholas Füllkrug was brought in up front, whilst experienced midfielder Guido Rodriguez was brought in to shore up the midfield, and one of the Championship's best last season, Somerville, was brought in to bolster the wings. And outside of those guys, I didn't even mention the likes of Edson Alvarez, Max Kilman, Wan-Bissaka, Souček. I'm not saying any of these guys could go out and win a Premier League title, but they're far better than a 14th place team. And Football Manager agrees, because they actually think with our team in Season 1, we should be finishing in 9th place. 100 to 1 odds of winning the title means there's a chance, but not a massive one, that we can challenge for the league. And the board themselves are saying they want us to qualify for the Europa League to do even better than how far the game predicts us to go. The club's also got a massive stadium and fan base to work with, and some decent facilities that I'm hoping to make even better. And financially, we should encounter no real issues. There's money in the overall pot, nothing crazy in the debts and loans, and when it comes to the transfer budget, I've got £29 million to spend in our first window. Now, I don't usually get that much money to spend in Season 1, but you best believe I'm going to use it. I'm going to go out, bring some players in, sell some players on, and make this West Ham team a team that I think could contend already for a top 6 place. And in just our first window, I've already bought in a few players I think can help this team out, as well as selling on a few key names here at West Ham. Let's start with the outgoings, where Vladimir Coufal was the first to leave. The Czech international got an offer from Al Shabab out in Saudi Arabia for 7.25 million. He's been a great servant for the Hammers, but I think we want something different going forward. Lucas Fabianski was kind of hogging the wage bill for a goalkeeper that I didn't want to rely upon any longer, so I've decided to sell him on before we lose him on a free for 1.1 million to Frankfurt. Young Brazilian defender Luis João, who I found in the reserves somewhere at the club, I've decided to loan out to. He's gone to Valladolid for the season. He'll hopefully go out on loan, get a little bit better, and maybe we can sell him on for profit in the future, because I don't think he looks great. But an icon of West Ham over the last decade or so, Michail Antonio, has left the club, age 34, who'll be playing for Bologna in Serie A, where I'm sure he'll do great, but for 1.8 million, not too long left on his deal either, I thought, you know what, let's cut ties, get Antonio gone, free up the wage bill, and bring in my own players. But I know what you're thinking, Jake, I'm already loving this video so much, before you show us the signings, how can I help you? Well, I'm glad you asked. If you could, smash that like button, it really does help me out here on the channel, in terms of just helping the video's performance here on YouTube. It lets them know you've liked it, helps support me, so if you could do that, it's free to do, takes a few seconds, and is a massive, massive help. On top of that, if you enjoy these rebuilds, make sure you're subscribed for the weekly rebuilds that we do here on the channel. We're aiming for 50k subs, so any support towards that target would be amazing. But with that being said, let's go check out who we bought in. Well, firstly, I felt that we needed some addition at left back. I like Emerson as a player. I am actually a Chelsea fan, sorry West Ham fans, and Emerson, when he was at Chelsea, when called upon, did fairly well. And I know he's been decent for West Ham too. I mean, scored a free kick at the weekend, but Leif Davis was available, 15 million, rising to 16. It offers competition for Emerson, but also I think long term, Leif Davis could be a man that I think suits a West Ham shirt. And it was the same at right back with Coufal going. I wanted some cover for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and we've got a bit more of a forward thinking right back going to Coventry in the Championship and signing 23-year-old Milan Van Uwijk for 12.5 million quid. I think it's a good deal for what we're getting. I think he is a very nice fullback, and he has a lot of time still, only 23, to grow as a player. And then I went off the beaten track a little bit. Never really heard of this guy, never seen him before, but I always go based on our scouts' recommendations in this game, and I felt like we needed an extra addition up front. Our scouts recommended this American international who scored 15 in 23 apparently, Jesus Ferreira. He was also considered far better, by the way, when our scouts recommended him initially, but his signing doesn't look as good as what I thought, but we've only paid 5 million from FC Dallas. There's clearly a player there, so maybe this one will work out. But now we get to the tactic, where I've decided to go for something a little bit different. West Ham fans, strap in, we are going all-out attack. A 4-2-4 formation, where we've got a back four, where supposedly our best 11 is Areola in the net, the former PSG French goalkeeper. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, we all know from his Manchester United days at right back. Jean-Claire Todibo is in on loan for the season, and supposedly our best centre-back alongside new signing Max Kilman, who cost a lot of money, but in FM probably isn't rated as good as he has been at Wolves in real life. Emerson is a very good left-back, but hopefully Leif Davis can compete. Edson Alvarez and Guido Rodriguez, who you've met, take up the midfield slots, and then you've got Kudus, Paqueta, Fulkrug and Bowen running that front line. It's a very exciting four-man attack. If those guys can link up, we should hopefully be seeing a lot of goals. I'm pretty happy with what we've got here. I think this team should be able to play some decent football. There's clearly good players in there, and with the changes that we've made, the game now predicts us still 9th place, still 100-1 odds of winning the title. But remember, the board want a top 7 finish, so I need to go for it this season, else I'll lose my job early on. But I feel like this West Ham team can do far better than what the game predicts. And I've got to say, in Season 1, I actually am pretty happy with what we've achieved. It's not necessarily our squad yet, so I'm not going to take massive credit for it, but I think we got some great results this season. One of the best results was beating Chelsea at our stadium 1-0 with only 10 men, thanks to Fulkrug, but our best match was undoubtedly a match against Liverpool at home, where Davis scored a brilliant free kick. Fulkrug then tucked away from the spot before a late flurry that saw Jared Bowen score, and to top it off, a goal against his former club for Danny Ings. And clearly the tactic's working, because we completely stunted Liverpool, they barely had any chances, and we killed them in that game. And it led to a very good first season finish of 6th place. Now, is that beyond the realms of possibility for a West Ham side? I certainly don't think so. We're a big distance away from the top 5. Eventually, it was Tottenham that won the league, but we're ahead of Villa, we're way ahead of Chelsea as well, who have had a poor season, and this is the kind of area I think we could actually be around with this squad. I don't even think it's a crazy result. I think this team is good enough for that kind of position. West Ham as a club, with all the facilities and the stadium behind it and the fan base, is good enough for this kind of area of the table. We just need to push on from here after a very good first year. And already I think we can learn a lot about this team and the strengths that lie within it from Season 1. I mean, Fulkrug was excellent. 22 goals and a brilliant average match rating. Guido Rodriguez, Kudus and Lucas Paqueta all contributing massively to the side as well. Jared Bowen scored 14 goals, playing predominantly as a striker for the team this season, which is great to see that he's that versatile, can play either wing. We saw our new signings playing a pretty big part as well. I mean, Leif Davis and Milan Van Hewitt got plenty of time on the pitch between them to influence this side, and I feel like this is about as good as Season 1 could have gone. And hopefully it's only going to get better, because Season 1's done, usually the year where I can't do too much to the team, but going forward, we're going to really start making this squad our own. We've got £54 million to do so, plenty of money in the wage budget, so let the fun begin. Let's get some transfers in. And in Season 2, we went for it in the transfer market. It was inevitable. Over £150 million of transfers, both in and out. That's the wrong way around. In and out of the club. And I think we've massively improved it. But I know what you're all thinking. You were just about to say it, weren't you? How could I play this save myself? Well, don't worry. Here's the answer. You can find the save files over on my Patreon. If you want to support me as a creator, you can find that in the description below. The Patreons over there are a massive support. So thank you to those guys who are already on there. But if you do join it, there's exclusive perks, not just the save files, but you vote for the rebuilds you want to see. You get early access to the rebuilds that you watch here on the channel as well. Giveaways coming soon too, so if any of that sounds interesting to you, or you just want to be nice and help support me, then that's the place to do it. I'll stop doing plugs now, you don't have to worry. Let's go and check out our transfers. Going out first was Maxwell Cornet, and I'll be honest, I'm just building up to a very big sale that we had at the club, which none of you will believe, none of you will expect, I'm sure. But firstly, Maxwell Cornet left. He's gone to Salento for 1.9 million in Serie A. Good luck to him in Italy. We didn't need him anymore. I said I was going to loan Luis João out and then sell him on for a profit. We did exactly that. Did okay out in Spain, and we've sold him now to Everton. 4.6 million. Thanks, Everton. Nayef Aguerd is a centre-back that I believe was out on loan for us last season. Yes, he was. He was out on loan at Sociedad. He's came back, and I thought, you know what? If he doesn't want to be here in Season 1, he doesn't want to be here. So we sold him on for 9.5 mil. And I could use the same story for Kurt Zouma. The Frenchman was out on loan last season million in Saudi Arabia, and I've sold him on at the first opportunity to Bournemouth for 16 million, which will add to our transfer kitty. Get it? Get it, kitty? And then there's Guido Rodriguez, who I believe West Ham fans in real life want to leave the club. I don't think he's done very well so far. There's been a lot of talk about him anyway, leaving in January. I mean, he's left us after a year, but in very different circumstances, because he was a triumph last season for us, and now he's moved on for £80 million to Saudi Arabia side Al Ahly at age 31. On 1 million quid a week, like the highest paid wage probably in the world of football near enough. Guido Rodriguez, he's left to join Al Ahly. I'm never going to reject that. 80 million in the bank. But what did we spend it on? Well, I have got competition for Alphonse Areola. He's getting older. We need another goalkeeper. Ipswich went down. In comes Arjanet Muric, who I believe started pretty poorly for Ipswich in real life, but then got better. In this save, he did okay in a struggling team. We've paid £10 million for him, rising to 13. A backup goalkeeper who can actually push Areola to new levels, I hope. For slightly more money, £12 million, I have added a new centre-back. Of course, Aguerd and Zuma leaving. Todibo did not stay after his loan, so we needed someone new. In comes Martin Vitic, the Czech Republic international, £12 million from Sparta Prague. They got Kufal from there, who's done well. Hopefully Vitic can do the same. He's a very good player. He's young too. He's got potential, good with the ball at his feet, strong, quick, physical, everything you want in a modern-day centre-back. Speaking of quick, strong and physical, Karim Konate is in the door. He is going to be a new forward option. Danny Ings left at the end of his deal, so we needed some competition for Fulkrug and of course Jared Bowen, so in comes Konate from RB Salzburg for 15 million. Is he quite Erling Haaland? No. Is he Benjamin Sesko? No. Is he Karim Konate? I hope he is. And then we did some more shopping in the Championship. Burnley did not come up at the first available opportunity, so Maxime Esteve wanted to leave. We've paid £20 million for one of the best defenders in the Championship right now, a brilliant ball-playing defender who's young, can get better too, and him and Vitic could be the future of that centre-back spot. And with that done, we are now seeing some changes to our best 11 already taking place. Areola and Wan-Bissaka stay, but Mavropanos now comes in apparently. I think Esteve is the better defender. Vitic and Leif Davis, all players that we've signed in our team. James Ward-Prowse came back from loan, and he's one that I've actually said, you know what, James, I know you left us last year, but we're going to give him an opportunity. I like the guy. I think he's great in FM, and his set pieces are going to be massive for us, I'm sure, especially when Fulkrug is still here leading the line with Bowen, Paqueta and Kudus. The team is ready. We've got a great squad, and if we have a look at the season preview, the board now only want a top half finish. We've got Europa League football next season, and the game still predicts a 9th place spot for us, but with 50-1 odds of winning the title, which is half of what we've had before. So clearly they think we've done some good transfer business, but again, only time will tell really as to how well we've done as we go and see how we did in Season 2. And being a manager of a club in the Premier League is never a straight line, and especially at West Ham, who have so many ups and downs, fluctuate between the top and the bottom of the Prem. This year wasn't quite that yo-yo fall, but it was definitely a mixed bag. Let's start with the Europa League, where we went away to Villarreal in the round of 16, doing pretty well to make it to that stage, but very early on, Villarreal were able to score, and they then went on to score 6. We got battered and knocked out of the Europa League there, but we did well in a different cup competition, because after a pretty easy draw, we had made it to a Carabao Cup semi to face off against Coventry. We beat them 4-2 in one leg, and Karim Konate helped us beat them 4-2 in the other, and suddenly our West Ham team was in a Carabao Cup final, so we had a trophy on the line already. The only issue is we're up against Man City. It was tiki-taka football up against our 4-2-4 formation, and Bowen scored early on to make it 1-0, but we didn't stop there. A trophy on the line for West Ham. Kudus onto Souček into Somerville. He scored to make it 2, and we got a victory to win the Carabao Cup 2-0 in a game that would have had Pep Guardiola scratching his head even more than he has done last week. So the Carabao Cup we won, the Europa League we did well in, even if we did get that massive loss, and the FA Cup we lost to Everton. But there was the Premier League where I was slightly disappointed, slightly not, because we still got a similar amount of points to last year. It's just other teams have really came into the mix, Aston Villa and Chelsea falling off even further, but Crystal Palace coming out of nowhere under Sergio Conchacao and having a very good season. We got 61 points. Thankfully, that Carabao Cup is enough to qualify us for the Conference League next year, which might be more our level at the minute, but a great goal difference. I just wish we could have converted one of those losses because we did lose far too many this year. But what I'm really happy with seeing is that we've got goals from pretty much everywhere in this team. 10 from Somerville, we've got 9 from young Callum Marshall, a 21-year-old out of the academy that we've promoted. There's been 16 from Paqueta, 13 from Canate, Ward-Prowse with 6, Bowen with 18, and that big man, Nicholas Fulkrug, scoring 32. To me, he just seems like the perfect West Ham player, and as you can see, the fans already love him at the club. Just a big man up top, scoring a ton of goals. It's exactly what we need, and the team overall is doing well. Outside of the on-the-pitch stuff, in terms of facilities, I've been able to improve them quite a lot over the last season or so things are looking good there. So it's been steady progress so far. We've got a trophy under our belt, and now we're going into season 3 with 87 million quid to spend and 500 grand a wage budget. The budgets are massive, and hopefully the players that we're able to bring in are just as big to help this side out. Season 1 was about a £50 million transfer window. Season 2, 150 million. Season 3, we upped the stakes. We spent 100, we've sold 100. It was a big moment for West Ham. First out the door is Emerson, joining former Chelsea man Kurt Zuma at Bournemouth. He has left the club for 3 million quid. Good luck to him, but Leif Davis is now the number 1. A transfer that I thought had completely failed actually ended up doing okay. Jesus Ferreira, we signed for 5 million, played twice, loaned him out the next year to Espanyol, did okay. Now gets a 13 million quid move to Saudi. Thank God to these Saudi clubs for funding this whole operation. And they weren't done either. They came in and took Nicholas Fulkrug away. And I'm very annoyed at this. Not just because Fulkrug is a great player for us, but he had a year left on his deal. I tried to offer him a new contract and he said no, he wants to be a coach after this season. So he was only willing to do 1 year. He was not willing to play it any longer. I assume he was going to retire. No, he signed a 2-year deal at Al Hilal. And you can kind of see why he got offered 850 grand a week. I can't say I was offering him that, but he moves on for 21 mil. So it is sad to lose him, but it rises to 26. He scored a ton of goals. We had to replace his profile, but it is big money for a 33-year-old. Thomas Souček has also departed the club, and I can think of no better place outside of West Ham for him than Everton. Sean Dyche Ball, he's going to suit it perfectly as Souček. He has moved away, age 31, for 23 million quid, rising to 25 mil. Played a lot for us, not necessarily been a crucial main starter, but of course has been around West Ham for years, so sad to see him go. But the Saudi clubs continue to splash the cash here at West Ham, signing Wan-Bissaka late in the window on a 700 grand a week contract near enough for a grand total fee of 54 million, rising to 60. He's left after 2 years, a massive profit for West Ham. You might think Saudi clubs have funded us here, and yes they have, but actually they even offered us 60 million for Leif Davis, which I turned down, so they wanted all of our players. Coming in though is Prince Sanning. He's our new second choice left back underneath of Leif Davis, replacing Emerson at the club. 22 years of age, of Borussia Dortmund formerly, a good player, potential to grow, and won't be annoyed if he's not starting. Thinking ahead for the future, I have found Dennis Seaman on a bargain deal at Stuttgart. He is a goalkeeper with great ability but massive potential, a regular starter in the Bundesliga at 20 years of age. We've signed him for 7.5 million and loaned him back out for the season, so he'll keep growing and he'll come to us next year, hopefully as our ready-made number 1. Fulkrug was out, so we needed a new big man, so in comes 6'7" Lorenzo Luca to play that second striker role for us. He's strong, he's brilliant in the air, and the Italian is 25, so can still get way better. Maybe it'll be a masterstroke for us if he ends up doing better than Fulkrug did. 18 million quid from Udinese, rising to 21, cheaper than Fulkrug too. Let's hope it's more of a Fulkrug situation and not a Scamacca one. With Wan-Bissaka going, I needed a late replacement to help us at right back to compete with Milan van Uwijk, so I went to relegated Southampton and took 26-year-old Yugunara Sugawara off their hands. £21 million was the fee for the man that tore up the championship, to be honest, and the former AZ Alkmaar man is a very good option at right back, particularly when it comes to going forward, so I'm happy to have him in. I then improved on the wing with the signing of Dilian Bakwa. He came from Strasbourg, 23-year-old Frenchman, a lot of pace, decent ability as well, from Bordeaux to Strasbourg, now to West Ham. £27 million is the overall fee. Fingers crossed this one works. And then the final signing is our new Thomas Souček, 6'2", defensive midfielder Eric Martel, 24-year-old German, signing from Everton, where he had joined from FC Cologne out in Germany. They took Souček, we take Martel for a similar fee. Looks a bit like player trading to me, but either way, we're not going to complain. Martel is in, and I think he's a bright player with a big future ahead of him. So we won the Carabao Cup last year, and this is what our team looks like going into season 3. Van Uwijk, Vitic, Esteve and Davis cover Areola in goal, whilst Ward-Prowse and Alvarez continue that midfield run alongside the same front four we originally inherited, but Canate is now in as a starter, and Fulkrug is of course gone. The board are just looking for a top half finish this year, but the game is predicted nicked in an 8th place one, so we finally moved up in the rankings, 50-1 odds of winning the title. I think we could do a lot better than 8th place. I'm hoping again for a top 6. Last year wasn't as good, but maybe in season 3 it will all work out. I feel like our signings have been good, so I'm crossing my fingers it'll all go well in our 3rd year. And I don't want to say they should sack Julien Lopetegui and put me in charge in real life, but if it happened, West Ham fans, this is what you can expect, because we had a great year. Let's start with the FA Cup, where we knocked out Spurs in the quarter-final, one London team down. In the semis, we're up against Arsenal and managed to go 1-0 ahead through Bowen. Now bear in mind, at this point in the game, only 4 minutes had gone on the timer, and we were able to make it 2, Bowen again. And before the ref was even able to blow the half-time whistle, a mistake from Declan Rice let Kudus through into the area. He scored, and that was 3. And to seal the deal, 32 minutes in, Lucas Paqueta scores off a deflected Rice shot. It went down as a Declan Rice own goal to give West Ham the win. Maybe inside, Declan Rice was a little bit happy with that, and we were in to an FA Cup final. And it was probably our easiest match for a few games in the FA Cup, up against Aston Villa. Still a tough job though, and they actually went 1-0 up when they scored from a mistake from our goalkeeper. So the FA Cup looked out of sight for us as time was ticking on. Aston Villa controlling the game until late on when Jarrod Bowen pounced on an error and scored to equalise. And it was in extra time after grinding out for ages to get back in the game where we had the opportunity to win it. Backward to Edson Alvarez, he hit it in off the post, and West Ham had won the FA Cup. We had managed to knock out some of our rivals along the way. We won the Claret and Blue derby up against Aston Villa, and the trophy was ours. That's a Carabao Cup and an FA Cup, but this year we were still in Europe. And I mentioned last season we were going to be in the Conference League, but we were actually in the Europa League. I assume someone else must have won a competition to boost us up or something. Either way, we were up against Besiktas, and that goal you just saw won the game in what was a semi-final. We'd made it all the way to the semi, beat Besiktas comfortably. I think it was 6-0 across 2 legs, and then we were in a final up against Roma. Only a few years ago, West Ham lifted the Conference League, and whilst most of them players aren't here anymore, we were hoping for another European trophy, and Marshall, our academy player, gave us a chance. And we were 1-0 up until the 81st minute when Enzo Laffi got round the back for Roma, crossed it in, and Tammy Abraham broke our hearts. And after conceding in the 81st, I was gutted when in the 86th minute, Roma took their chance. Cristante, deflected shot, and they were winning. So it looked like it wasn't going to be. 88 minutes on the clock, no trophy for West Ham. We were going to lose, or were we? Eric Martel, 2-2. And the extra time gods are clearly with us in this save because we managed to get another Paqueta, and that was enough to win us a Europa League. So a Europa League, an FA Cup, and a Carabao Cup. Maybe one of the greatest West Ham managers of all time. Granted, we haven't really moved in the league over 3 years. We finished in 7th this time, still about 60 odd points, 10 losses, 10 draws, 18 wins, less goal difference than before, but a Champions League spot because of that Europa League win. We'll be playing UCL football with West Ham, and there's some players we need to thank, because if you have a look, Lorenzo Luca came in and scored 34 goals. In how many starts, you might ask? 35. He was amazing for us. Jarrod Bowen scored 24, Konate scored 19, Paqueta with 15. I could keep going. Goals all over the pitch, and that's what I love about this squad. We are not relying upon one man. A proper army of players getting us goals. We've got really good facilities too at this stage that we're still trying to improve, and transfer-wise, I mean, 100 million, 500 grand the wage budget, you can't ask for more as a manager, and we head into season 4 now with 3 trophies under our belt and the Premier League title next in our sights. And after nearly £200 million of transfers in Season 3, don't worry, I slowed it down in Season 4, 180 million instead. Let's start with the outgoings, where first Somerville has left on loan to Sociedad. To be honest, he just hasn't been great for us over the years. He's been alright, but nothing exceptional, and because of some squad registration issues, I needed some space in the squad, so he's left the club. Andy Irving has also left. He's a Scotsman who was out on loan in Season 1, I believe. I don't really know where he was, to be honest, but he played a few times over the years, and now we've sold him on to Hertha for 1.7 mil. Mats Kilman, probably the biggest disappointment of this save. Like I said before, he's not rated great in FM, and for that reason, he wasn't playing much over the years, so he wanted out. He leaves for 2.8 million, nothing compared to the 40 mil spent on him. Alfonso Areola also leaves now to Al Fateh in Saudi Arabia for 2.8 million quid, rising to 3.4, not bad for a 34-year-old third choice keeper. But this window also saw the departure of Edson Alvarez, 29 years of age. I believe he had 1 year left on his deal, and it was time for him to move on, so he left for 20 million pounds or so, most of the money recouped on him, and he's been a good little player for us over the last few years. As has Leif Davis, which upset upset me when he did not want to sign a new deal. After the interest from Saudi last window that I rejected, he wasn't going to sign a new one, had a year left, so I had to cash in. We've got rid of him. He's gone to Al Ali this time in Saudi Arabia, 20 million quid for him. I feel like we could have got more, but he's gone. He wanted to leave. Coming in, though, are some star men. We've gone for quality over quantity this window. In first was Antonio Blanco, a defensive midfield option who can also play centre mid. How much does he cost us? Well, the Spanish international has joined for free from Alaves, formerly of Real Madrid. I think he's a great pickup. As is Ousmane Diamonde, who massively improves our centre-back position. Max Kilman out, Diamonde in, the Ivorian defender, 23, one of the best ball-playing defenders in the world, signing from Sporting Club de Portugal for £36 million. Leif Davis leaving meant we needed a new left back, so in comes Bournemouth defender Milos Kerkez. They've signed enough of our players over the years for me to say, you know what, we'll take one of yours. And the Hungarian 23-year-old is fantastic. A wonder kid formerly. He's been at Bournemouth for a few years and always done well for them in a struggling team. So now, 44 million, he's coming to a really good squad. Hopefully he can live up to expectation. And then I went and splashed another 50 million on our final player of the window, Brighton's Carlos Baleba. They got relegated, Brighton did. They're now sitting in the Championship. For that reason, he was available on a cut price deal, which was still 47 million, mind you, but that's cheaper than he would have cost normally because the Cameroonian is a fantastic player with a lot of potential too, and he's a brilliant addition to replace Edson Alvarez in that defensive midfield spot. And whilst the attack still features some of our original players here at West Ham, it's mainly wholesale changes from what we initially inherited. We have got a brilliant team here. Vitic developing very well at centre-back, going to be a legend of West Ham, I'm sure. Esteve, the same, doing really well for us. I think we've got a great side here, and the game now predicts us, drumroll, to finish in 8th place, 50-1 odds. Nothing's really changed there, but I feel like the incomings have helped us long-term, especially in terms of lowering the age a little bit, and I feel like we're on to big and better things next year in Season 4. And Season 4 was another year of drama. Highs, lows. Let's start with the lows and build up a little bit. In the FA Cup, it felt like it was going to be a high. We knocked out Spurs in the semi-final to lead to a final match against Brentford. You think we would win it, but Jason Knight scored to make it 1-0. And Brentford weren't done there either, because still in the first half, Joel Linton, the former Newcastle man, got in behind, scored a deflected shot to make it 2. But our West Ham team knows how it feels to win now, and we wanted back into this match. So Jared Bowen burst forward into the area and slotted past the keeper, but we just could not seem to keep Brentford out. They're a very physical side and they managed to dominate us in a lot of those areas. Jonathan Rowe, of all people, scoring a header to make it 3-1. In the 70th minute though, it looked like we might spark a fight back as Baleba was able to play a brilliant ball down to Bowen, who cut across to Kudus, but that was all we could do. We lost the game 3-2 and we ended up losing a cup final for the first time in this save. Fear not though, we did beat Spurs in the Super Cup, which is great, but it also does mean Spurs have won a Champions League, so not great. Then we get to a different cup final, the Carabao Cup final, which we got into, and we went 1-0 up against Arsenal, and that was a score for ages until the 82nd minute when Odegaard burst through our defence, was able to tuck a pass into Jesus, who fired brilliantly into the corner, but only 2 minutes later we were able to get up the other end. Arsenal still cheering about their goal, went crazy in the defence for a second and Konate scored, and it was job done. We were about to win the Carabao Cup until the 97th minute. Kai Havertz scored, arguably offside, but oh well. And into extra time we went, but you know what our team's like in extra time so far? We're always there to get the win. Lucas Paqueta got onto the ball. Of course, it's Jared Bowen, 3-2, and the Carabao Cup was ours once more. Another trophy in the cabinet here at West Ham. And that topped off a mix of a season where, as you can see, we win the Super Cup, we win the Carabao Cup, we won the European South America Club Challenge as well, but we lost the Community Shield, we lost the FA Cup, getting towards the end of all these competitions. The Champions League, round of 16 exit to Manchester City, which is unfortunate, but you know what? They are probably a little bit better. Beat us 6-5 on aggregate, mind you. In the knockout playoff round, we took out FC Porto, and in the league phase, we did okay, finishing 10th spot. I can't complain about that at all. When it comes to the league, we secure 6th place, 64 points. Again, feel like we could be doing a little bit better here, but I feel like we're giving up the league for some of the wins in other competitions, which isn't the worst thing ever. And it's the same names that we're used to doing well, but Jared Bowen had the year of his life, 27 goals for us in that forward position, loved by the fan base still. But Lorenzo Luca was the man who scored the most, with 30 goals for him this this season, 22 from Karim Konate as well. The front three of dreams, those guys interchanging. Whenever one comes on, they've all got a chance of scoring. Kudus is all the way down here, but still scored 14, shows you just how good this team's doing. And now we go into our final season with 87 million quid to spend. We're going to go for it in season 5, bring in some top draw players and hopefully take us to the top. And with our final transfer window here, this is the last chance that I can ask you if you could smash the like button. If you're at this point in the video and you are enjoying, if you haven't yet hit the like button and subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you could do so. It means you've enjoyed the content, but it helps support me also, so it's a win-win for all of us. So if you could do that, that would be amazing. But let's check out my final blast in the transfer market. Somerville's gone permanently. He's gone to join Al Shabab out in Saudi Arabia for 17 million quid. Never really hit the ground running here at West Ham, but did well enough at Sociedad to earn a move. Milan Van Uyk has also left the club for his getting 500 grand a week. My God, Saudi Arabia is just full of ex-West Ham players at this stage. But yeah, he's moved on, 28.5 million. After a half-decent career at West Ham, I'm going to take it. But the sad sale is Jarrod Bowen. Now, I will say, kind of happy to see him go because he didn't have long left on his contract. And of course, he gets that massive pay rise and he deserves it. 750 grand a week out to Al Nassr. What a player he's been for us over the years. Not necessarily irreplaceable, but as a face of a club, it is sad to see him go. Coming in though, we had Harwood Bellis helping us with our homegrown rota, replacing Mavropanos in that defence. He's not great, but 10 million from Southampton I think isn't a bad deal. I bolstered our defensive midfield position slightly with the signing of Alexander Pavlovic, the Bayern Munich man, 24 years of age, 12 million quid from FC Bayern. Milan Van Uyk was replaced with a new right back who's going to lead the way for us. Connor Bradley is in, 25 years of age at this point, and a Northern Ireland legend already with 46 appearances. He'll hopefully be a big player for us, having signed from Aston Villa. And then Bowen, who could play right wing and striker, has been replaced by someone else who can do the same, Liam Delap. I can kind of see him in a West Ham shirt already actually, but he has joined the club from Fulham. He moved there after Ipswich got relegated, did well enough in the Premier League. Our scouts recommended him. 34 million, rising to 43. It's a lot of money, but I think he's a player that earns that kind of move. And this is what our final team looks like. Only Kudus surviving in that best 11 from what we originally inherited. Seaman is in goal alongside Bradley, Vitic, Esteve and Kirkej at left back. A very good defence in my eyes. Blanco and Baliba are flanked by Kudus and Bakwa, whilst Luca and Konate are our best forward line. But now we're ready to go in our final season. Board still only want top half. Game predicts us 8th place, 33-1 odds. We're going to go for it. Hopefully another trophy. But to be honest, with everything we've won, I think this rebuild's already been a success. And in Season 5, we once again made it to a big match, a European final in the Europa League once more, and again, we're up against Roma. They will have came into this match with a point to prove, and after 35 seconds, they did exactly that. Zinchenko scoring a deflected shot. That really hurt our morale, and it was so hard to fight back from there, and we really struggled. Eventually, in the 56th minute, Roma went away and scored a second goal. And to be honest, the game got away from us from there. Late on, we were able to pull one goal back. Martel into Harwood Bellis, onto Paqueta, into the box to Marshall, who scored. But it wasn't to be. We weren't able to get a win, so we couldn't get 2 Europa Leagues. We'll have to settle for the 1. And this year in the domestic cups, we didn't really do anything, and in the league, we secure a 6th place finish again. You know what? I'm happy if that's the kind of consistency we can get here with West Ham, all whilst winning other trophies. But just 1 year, it would have been nice to crack the top 4. This is our best points total yet, I believe, so at least there's that progress. But it wasn't to be this year round. We have improved the facilities massively, though, at our time here at the club. And financially, the club is doing great. Nothing really in the debts and loans. Loads of money in the overall balance. And to anyone that continues to save on Patreon, because you can either continue the save or join in at any point, because all 5 years of this rebuild, the save files will be up on there, as well as every other rebuild we've ever done, of course. But you've got loads of great players to work with, so many top performers, all these goal scorers across the pitch. We probably lacked a little bit from our 2 strikers this year in terms of goals. Maybe they need more competition because they did play a hell of a lot. There wasn't really anyone else to come in and give them a rest. But overall, I think we can be delighted with what we've done at West Ham. Great to see as well, us alongside Karim Konate, Lorenzo Luca and Fulkrug are loved here at the club. Clearly the West Ham fans do like a striker that scores goals. But there we go. That's the West Ham rebuild done. Thank you guys for watching. Appreciate all the support, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.